Okay, so basically, like, don't go past the end of the frame on that, the
Yeah,
wooden one.
this side.
You can
Yeah.
go all the way to the other side.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Plenty
like,
of room.
yeah, not past it, and then
Yeah.
you'll be out of the frame. And then on this side, it's like, don't go past the electrical box.
Oh yeah. That's
So
plenty.
we're like,
Plenty of space.
I think we're in here.
Should be good.
Zoom in and make sure. Yeah, you're looking pretty good there. All right, we're. Oh.
So 3 CBXRs. How many do you have any rims that are currently not on a board? Like the motor setup?
Oh, there's lots of motors over there that are broken. Like,
they're all broken though.
Yeah, yeah. There's something wrong with a bunch of motors because, like, even the motor that I got the 4212 from,
Oh, I didn't know.
that motor was like broken. I bought the board
you
for
got?
$500, but his motor was broken.
Yeah.
But I already had a motor, and then I bought a motor off of James, but then it was broken too, I think. Like the day after I rode it once, and it broke like the next day. And then the other motor, and then the motor now with the strip screws.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know who fixes motors.
No, I don't know a soul that fixes the motor.
Yeah, so if I knew someone that fixes motors, I wouldn't just go buy more motors, but yeah. I'll be here. But yeah, let me, yeah, so, I don't know. How did you get into one-wheeling, bro? Why did you decide to one-wheel?
Yeah, so it's funny, like, I feel like, I always had a love for a skateboard, but, the electric world first came into my life with,
I don't know if you want this.
yeah, that's fine. Take a seat. With Casey Neistat was somebody I was just, always
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So seeing him with the boosted, and then I eventually ended up getting from AliExpress a bunch of long electric longboards that lasted a decent amount of time. Obviously not spec wise what you were hoping for, is compared to what boosted was giving you, but it was still decent, and I was using it as a commuter. I just loved it. And then, Casey Neistat also, it was the first time I saw the board, but, he had a buddy, Sean Durez, who also, kind of rode it a little bit more than he did. And then from there, it was just, all the ads that I was seeing, and just got, fully obsessed with everything that was happening one wheel. So, how about for you?
Well, also, hold on. Since it's just me and you talking,
For
it's
sure.
for our own archival purposes.
Yeah.
This is like a weird story because you saw Casey Neistat riding a one-wheel first. I used to edit for Casey Neistat.
Crazy.
And then a Casey Neistat board,
The board
was given
crazy.
to someone at
Burning Man.
by him,
Yeah.
and then ended up back in the one-wheel Boston community. So there's Casey Neistat.
Crazy connection. But yeah, that's so wild that it comes full circle with that, because I remember seeing that board for the first time, and I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, I think for me it was, I first ever saw one, not even thinking about it. Obviously, I lived in Cambridgeport, so
Yeah.
there's obviously some tech bro-ish there.
Right. For
So
sure.
I definitely seen some stiff-legged individuals riding their one wheels this, probably to get to wherever they needed to go. So I never really thought too much of it. I was just whatever,
Yeah.
It kind of wow, that person's doing what they got to do. But then I think what really hit was that I think I was hip to when the Bird scooters started dropping.
Hell yeah.
I was kind of paying attention to that whole rollout of those pieces of equipment, and then I went and bought my own, because what happened was I think just
About your own scooter, you're saying?
Yeah, I bought my own scooter because I had heard about the whole rollout with the Bird scooters. And then I remember being like, oh, wait a minute, they're selling this same scooter on Amazon for $300. But they were all sold out. So I think it was at the time that maybe Bird was buying them, sort of
Okay, yeah.
from the same distributor anyone else could, but then like remaking them for this like ride share thing. So then I was like, I'm just gonna buy my own. So I bought one for like literally $250. I bought this red scooter and I would like ride it to work. And it was so cool, except for the fact that like all scooter things, it's like, and then like you can't
really
take your
feel it.
hand off
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. So then after riding that for like 3 months, then I started getting into this loop of like, okay, what is like a better way to like get around electronically, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I bumped into Sly Dog Stro videos on YouTube. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get one of these. So then I just bought one.
Yeah. So your main purpose for buying one originally you would say as a commuter?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It was like literally the first use was after learning how to ride. It was literally just to like, I had this job at City Hall and then I was trying to get from City Hall to Mass Art to go teach. And I would have to leave in the middle of my lunch break. Like, so it was like on lunch break, they would like excuse me early from one job and then I would like rush to this other job. And the only way to make it there was on the Onewheel without like being on a bicycle and like covered in sweat. But I'm like, I have to go into a classroom and teach. So
Right.
I opted for the Onewheel. Was it for commuting for you, or you were commuting on the Eastgate, you said?
Yeah, I was commuting on Eastgate, and I just looking for something completely different. So, but yeah, it was I didn't have a car at the time, so for sure it was, main purpose was just to commute. I had no real sense of like what the one-wheel community was at that time. I originally purchased a V1 when they came out with the Plus. So, and then that was, it was crazy riding that because there wasn't like as much information out at that time. Like it was kind of just like what Future Motion was giving you. So
then so then from there, what happened? Like, I want to know this. Describe the first day on the Onewheel. Like you bought it, was it mailed to you or you bought it or?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
I'm looking for a
originally
screwdriver.
no, you're good. Bought it online. I remember just I had to charge it up, but I remember originally taking it out, and I lived right on Chandler Street, and I wanted to, I was able to cross the street, but going downhill on that thing for the first time, I remember like it was really, I don't know if it was the firmware at that time or whatever, what have you. I didn't know how to ride it, but just the pushback I was getting and the way it was just tilting me up, I did not understand what was happening. And then eventually got a significant feel with it, feel for it, I was kind of going all over the place with parks and then just, everyday commuting. But yeah, the city riding was sweet. And that's kind of really where the first love for riding on that board. And I was able to see so much more of the city. And it was just, and that wasn't just for Worcester, that was for literally wherever I was going. So.
And you bought the first one from FM?
From FM, yeah.
Oh, so they were still selling the V1, but they had a Plus model. So the lineup was like the Plus and the V1.
Right. It was right.
Can't even imagine their website back then. What was it, like a Lassie dog? What was that dog? Golden Retriever was like their main marketing ploy. Like
it was crazy.
Man and his dog.
Yeah. No, it was just crazy because I remember getting they sent an automated message that they were only supposed to send to the people who had ordered the Plus because they were on some sort of shipping delay. And the only reason I got the V1 at the time was because it was first cheaper, but then they were shipping right away. But so then I made the purchase, and then as soon as I make the purchase, I get the email saying that thank you so much for getting the Plus. And we're expecting heavy whatever, and it's going to be longer than what we originally said or whatever. So I remember getting on the phone with customer service, and it's the same thing that it is now.
Yeah.
Where it's just you didn't get the right information. They're kind of all over the place. But yeah, I got the V1, happy with the V1, and then from there that was the only board left that that I killed out, that it just died, whatever.
Yeah.
Controller, battery, what have you. But that was the last one from Future Motion. Everything else was
the used market, the open market.
The open market.
Nice. Yeah, I bought mine after class, that class that I was trying to sneak off to. I was leaving class from there and I went to Thorough, the local
Hell
shop.
yes.
I had messaged the dude. I think I messaged him before I had it, like earlier in the week, and was like, "Do you have these?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna get an XR," and I was all like stoked. And then the day came, I got my paycheck or whatever. I was like, "All right, I got the money. I'm gonna go buy this XR." And I think I called him like 30 minutes before they closed, so it was like kind of weird because I was like, "Oh, like, are you guys still open?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, I'm on my way." So I like showed up like at closing to be like, "Yo, go get that $2,000 thing." So I think it was like kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Like, does this dude really want to buy the board? So I bought my first one there and just rode. I took it home that night. I had to do like some other stuff, so I couldn't like open it right away. And I think at like midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, sometime late, like late. Like I was like, okay, and I like took it out of the box. I think it was already charged. Maybe it was charging while I was working. And then I took it to the park, or not the park, the parking lot, the Micro Center parking lot, right by my house where I used to live in Cambridge, and got on it, and I was like, whoa, wifey's gonna be mad I bought this because this shit's weird, and I don't even know how to ride it. And I just like picked it up and walked it back home, and I was like, this might be the dumbest thing I spent $2,000 on.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, like I just felt kind of like weird, like it definitely was nothing. Cause like I think also too, did you feel like when you see it in the video, like you didn't realize like how heavy it was or like how real it was?
Yeah.
Like it felt more like something that was probably gonna be plastic and weigh nothing,
Right.
and just move you around, and then you get it and it's like, to me I always kind of like call it like a mini jet ski. Like it to me always feels like something like very ATV like but small.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I
then
didn't have like a real grasp on how it was gonna feel, and yeah, you're right. When you saw all the videos, and you're kind of like psych yourself up into seeing what you think it's gonna be, and then you get on the thing and it's something completely different.
yeah, like I don't even think, and I didn't do any research, right?
No,
Like
we
I
didn't.
saw Sly Dog Stroh riding it, and then I think that was the main connection because I'm from Milwaukee, so I spent a lot of time in Chicago. So when I saw him riding it, I was like, ooh, perfect. He's on shitty roads because I've been to Chicago,
So you knew, yeah.
and my little wheels on my scooter are like bump, 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 bump. So I was like,
Feel
dude, if
everything.
he's flowing like that on that big ass wheel, like these are gonna be good for Boston. So that was kind of like that made me want to like just go ahead because I was like, and then I didn't even think about like the whole balancing or how you ride it, like, or what it's made out of or how far it even went. Like I don't think I thought about any of that stuff. I was just like, he's riding it. I just need to go from here to there. It's gonna be better than like this, because my like scooter, it could go only 4 miles and then it needed 4 hours to charge. That's
crazy.
Because it was like one of the early ones that just had like a massive battery in the stem. So I think like it just like, it wasn't like a bunch of cells. I think it was just like one big battery.
Probably.
And it just like, yeah, literally like it only really worked too like at City Hall because I would have to like go there and that was like most of its battery. And then I would sit for 7 hours at work. So that was like enough time for it to charge up to go home.
It's crazy to think about that. So how did you even know that Thorough sold the wheel? And like, what was your involvement with Boston OneWheel at that time?
None.
None.
And then I definitely like didn't, I don't know how I knew Thorough sold them, to be honest.
Because I knew nothing. Like, I knew a little bit about like around me who Eustace. I want to say I don't even know, but there
I didn't
was
know any
someone.
one-wheelers before I bought my one wheel, so I don't know how I knew Thorough sold them. Maybe I just looked up like local, like I tried, like maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how I figured out that he was selling them, but like I knew that there was that place and I knew I was gonna go get. I got my first one from him. You know why? Probably because I hate ordering stuff that if I know I can't, like when I spend a bunch of money, like I'm like the dude that's like $50 more to have it here tomorrow. Like I click yes, because I'm like, I already spent like $1,000. Like I don't wanna wait. So I probably like when I was looking to buy it, I might have noticed that like maybe in the Google search, like it showed that Thorough was selling them or something.
Yeah.
Or something, and then I was like, oh, bet I can just go buy it from that guy instead of having to buy it and wait for them to ship it. So I don't think I bought any of them from Thorough. I bought my first 2 Onewheels from Gabe.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Sport.
And then after the second one, then I started buying them like wholesale. The second board I bought was like an impulse because I've been so addicted to riding my one wheel. When I first got my one wheel, after I learned how to ride, I actually finally got it to ride the second day. I went to my studio and there was a grass park across the street, and I like rode it across like the grass, and then I was like, oh, this shit is crazy. Like, oh, this is fun. And then I like nose dived and like smashed my head on the ground. I was like, whoa, this is really fast. And then I think from there, I just learned how to ride. We ride all the time. And then I would ride in the rain. Rain used to be my favorite thing to ride in when I first got it. I didn't even think about the fact that they weren't waterproof or something. Like I would just like, when it was raining, I think the first time I was hesitant because I thought it would slip. But once I realized the board doesn't inherently slip on concrete when it's wet, it was a wrap. Always riding in the rain. Like I would go and get like my wife's or Kate's, I would go and get Kate's like rain gear. Like she had rain pants, and I would like put on the rain pants and like put on a rain jacket, and I'd be like the only person outside like riding my board in the rain, just getting it like fucking soaking wet. And I wouldn't care. And I rode it like that for like almost like a year, and then it just bricked obviously at some point from riding in the rain too much. So the day I sent it back for that, I impulse bought a second board because I had like loved the board so much I couldn't even fathom not having one for 3 weeks.
I was in the same boat.
Yeah, so I just like literally like the next day was like, babe, can we just like go buy another one while this one's like shipped out? And I just like went and bought another one like the next day, just like dropped my whole paycheck on it, didn't even care. And then after that, I got a little smarter with like how to maintain the addiction. But it's like heavy early on. Yeah, what would you say like early setups, early reason to ride?
What do you mean setups?
Like I know that was a question we were talking about. Like, what was your like initial setup you thought you'd have versus like what you ended up going with, or like what setup did you start with? Like I actually had fins.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah, so I actually had fins because of Sly Dogstro. I ordered the fins before I ever ordered the board.
Yeah.
So I just had some fins from Flight Fins and the whole thing just sitting in my closet waiting for when the board would arrive.
Yeah.
And then I got the board and I was like, I'm never going to put on fins. This shit's so dangerous. I couldn't even fathom like the idea of like falling off the board but then having my feet clipped in. So then I just never even set them up. I ended up giving my fins away. That's
crazy. I didn't ever know. Maybe you told me that once or twice, but I did not have any recollection of that, which is crazy because more of a fin rider. At first, I remember not being super convinced on ever changing the tire. People trashed so hard on the Vega. I didn't really understand that. But then once I found the fins, super happy with the fin setup. Now it's crazy because it's like I have no real interest to use the fins unless I'm racing, which is crazy. Like in the beginning, I feel like I enjoyed the bonks, and I think that's how I really learned how to bonk.
Dude, your bonks back in the day were like, I was like, what is going on? Like I remember that video we shot. Like it was yesterday, the one where we went through Fenway and we came up and you like bonked a curve, and it was just like, what is going on? Like this.
That's all with fins, though,
But regardless, like it was just crazy because like even then, no one was even getting air at all. Yeah. Like there's only a handful of people.
Not a whole lot of people were getting air, and that was like my main attraction to the fins. It's like, all right, I can jump over anything, and that's what I wanted to do. And then it's like I'm wrecking the fins, wrecking myself, and it's like I don't know if this is really necessary. But definitely taught me how, like, not necessarily the curb nudge, but the bonk itself. I feel like the fins helped me with doing it without the fins.
Yeah, you're one of the earliest people I knew that knew. I just learned how to bonk last year.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I feel like you've been bonking since the beginning.
Yeah. It's been some time. How would you say? How long would you say you were riding before you ever like met anybody in the Boston one-wheel world? And how the hell did you get in contact with anybody in the Boston?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was close to 500 or 1,000 miles.
Wow.
Of riding.
I
think we were riding for months. I think it was months.
Yeah.
Like I knew how to ride, to my mind. I thought I knew how to ride. And then I don't know what it was. Maybe if it was either Instagram, like making an account on there, or dude, I don't even know. It's good we're having this talk. I don't know, but somehow I found out maybe that there was the Telegram or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. But somehow I got in like hip to the fact that there was like these group rides that were going on. And I don't even think they were like considered group rides in the way. I think it was just a ride. But anyway, it was sort of basically organized by Amanda Thompson, and it was Amanda, Theo, and James, and they
Wow.
like, yeah,
So let me just stop
Yeah.
you right there. My first ever group ride was with Lewis from Worcester and Amanda, Theo, and James.
yeah. And I think when I met you, you used to ride with Lewis all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, that was
That's crazy.
my first ride. They took me, and I only rode half of the trip.
Yeah.
Because like one, riding that long, I had never done with other people. So like they would just keep. And I don't even know. Like to them, they probably were going like 20 plus miles an hour. But like to me, they were just like ripping. Not like they were trying to like speed off without me, but they were riding and like flowing. And I think it was the fact that like for me, I'd only really gone like from home to work, and then like from home to the park. Or something, like, you know what I mean? I hadn't been with people, and it's like, all right, we're gonna ride over here, and we're gonna ride over there, and we're gonna like go up over here. So I think like just the foot fatigue of like you not being in control of where you're going versus like you have to follow someone or get left behind. So I think like the fatigue of it. Long story short, I didn't even finish the whole ride. I rode like for 2 miles with them, and then was like, I don't have a charger, and I'm tired. And I like left, and then like went and like leveled back up on my own. But like I remember it being like riding with them, and probably even a photo because they always take photos. But like yeah, I just remember being like, oh, I know how to stay on the board, but like these guys like know how to like cruise and do the thing, and like this is really cool.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because like I was thinking like the Cutler ride was maybe one of the first times we
Yeah.
ever met each other.
Yeah.
And the way you were like that downhill section where you see the Mass Pike, like you were able to fucking stay on that board like no tomorrow, and
Yeah.
didn't understand. And there were, I feel like multiple times where I'm trying to like follow you, chase you, and I'm like absolutely eating it. Just you were able to stay on the board
Oh yeah.
like
Thanks.
from the beginning. I felt.
Yeah, I feel like I have like decent claws.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel like of the things I try to stay on the board when I can. Also, I feel like I try to stay on the board now more than I feel like I did back in the day because falling so many times, you're just like, okay, stay on this board.
For sure.
And then like, yeah, but yeah, I feel like early on, I don't know, yeah, but I feel like I'm always envious of the people around me. I feel like it's kind of sad now that I don't enjoy like the big group rides as much as I used to.
It's completely different from what it was.
Yeah, when we started, but like I do feel like I do get up for like the ones where we have an agenda. Not saying they all don't have an agenda, but like, yo, if we're gonna meet at Big River and we're all just like ripping this trail, I think I'm more excited about doing
No, for
those
sure.
group rides because you can kind of like still be in your own zone. But I feel like I kind of max out at 3 or 4 people because it just gets to be a lot. And then the injuries, like with new riders, I've had some rides where back in the day, like, dude, an ambulance showed up because someone like tried to trail me and then bumped into me. And like, you know, it's just like stuff like that just like doesn't make me happy. Like I don't want to see people get hurt
No,
or like ride in a way that I don't like to ride. So it's not that anything against them. It's just like group rides for me are like more stressful than like a fun place to meet friends. But like if someone hit me up and was like, yo, let's go for a ride, like by all means, I'm always gonna drop everything I can and try to get you up on the board. We can sesh all day, but like when it gets to like 30 people, I'm just kind of like
So as far as like solo riding or maybe like 2 or 3 other people, like how would you compare Worcester city riding to like more like Cambridge city riding?
I think it's just kind of like how the cities are laid out, like Cambridge. But see, the weird thing about it is when I lived in Cambridge, that's like year 1 and 2 of riding. So
Yeah.
like I wasn't as nasty as I was now. Like versus, so
Yeah.
like Cambridge, I feel like was all miles. Like it's just like you would get up and you'd be hungry to ride. So like you'd be riding down Memorial Drives. Or like getting on, like, you know, or like going over to the Fenway. There's like the Emerald Necklace. Like, so you're like getting on like Jamaica Way and getting right there where you have like a bike path and then you have trails immediately on the left and the right. So it's like you have like these routes that you can immediately get on. But the thing that's dope about Worcester is like if you're riding city in Worcester, Worcester has more of like the street features and Worcester's more hilly. So like I think Worcester like is just a different vibe, and Worcester has way less traffic, right? Like outside of like peak rush hour, like Worcester is like wide open, so you can like go to some spots and just like freely do whatever you need to do, and no one's gonna like bother you. Not that they really bother you in Boston or Cambridge, but like it's just even that amount of quietness maximized. Where I feel like the real plug of being in Cambridge is like you're riding your one wheel also to like go get groceries and go to the corner store, and like because all those things are like 5 to 10 blocks away, where like that 5 or 10 block walk might cost you 20-30 minutes there and back, where now it's like here and you're there in 2 minutes, and it's like yeah, like the one wheel becomes very utilitarian in Cambridge versus like in Worcester. Like yeah, it's still a 5 minute one wheel ride from my house to the closest bodega because of where I live. So it's not like I'm always riding it at that like sort of clip versus here I'm going to the trails that are really good that you can't find anywhere in Boston because we don't have trail systems in Boston. So I feel like that's where I kind of feel like learning in Cambridge was great. Being more of like, a serious rider is better in Worcester.
Yeah.
Because there's way more for me to do now that I'm a better rider here.
Yeah.
But I think maybe starting here could have maybe been hard, but maybe not.
I don't know. I was just gonna say like the transition that you were talking about in Cambridge, like that definitely helps. Like it kind of like forces you into getting better at all the different terrains.
Yeah.
Where in Worcester, it's kind of like, all right, you're kind of gonna pick like a city ride, or you're gonna hit like a trail.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see like if it was different, like if we,
Yeah, swap the beginnings.
swap the beginning to see if it would make any difference. I don't think it necessarily would make.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I mean, I think one thing that is nice about Boston, once you start getting in, obviously into like the tricks and stuff, like the curbs are a lot of marble or like the granite curves. So like finding places to do slide tricks sometimes can feel like very easy in Boston. Because like that's just like the makeup of how the city is made versus most cities have like concrete curbs, so there's not like everything is slidable. But honestly, like Worcester has so many freaking features. Like it's one of my favorite places. And as I get better, the features only become more abundant. So like even the other day, like the park down the street from here, I used to not want to ride there because I used to have to bring my own features. But now I'm better. So now the features that are there, I can actually hit.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna like cut the thing. So
Yeah, for sure.
the clip isn't 50 minutes.
Yeah, be good. So.
Yeah, I think you had some questions too about like just the world of one wheels.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely we've gone a long way as far as what we're trying to do with the board. I think, like, how would you say, like, where was the interest in, like, you were, going to, like, the small group rides and then, like, hitting different trails? Like, how do you go from that mindset to enjoy that to, like, okay, we're going to completely switch things over in race, talking locally and, all over?
When once I got the board, then I started, you start following Future Motion. I think I got my board in like September of 2018 or October of 2018. And like right around that time that I got the board, they announced or they had like been posting the promo or the recap. I don't know which one, but they were posting media from Vail.
Okay.
From like Race for the Rail 2 or something.
Yeah.
So then when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course I would love to race one of these things. And like back then no shade at anyone, but like it was just more accessible, right? Like they were racing around cones or like, you know what I mean? So it seemed
it's come a long way.
Yeah, it seemed very like, I could probably race with these guys regardless if I win or not. Like, you know what I mean? And there were so few riders, like, and I think Jack Mudd even says the same thing, right? Like he won or placed at like the first ever Race for the Rail. Like he used to be, at some point, was one of the fastest probably one-wheel riders, right? Just because of like proximity to the thing and not as many riders. So I think early on it was just so easy to like be like, oh my God, I could see myself in that space. Like all I got to do is just get up every day and ride the board.
Yeah.
So I think like at the beginning it just seemed more feasible, and there was less options. Right now, like not to skip ahead, I want to hear what you have to say, but just like at the same time, like right now, like dude, we have to deal with dumb stuff. Like it costs so much more. Like before it was like I think even at the first few Race for the Rails, you could just
It
go.
was anybody, yeah.
Yeah, you could just pay the price. Like, can you fly there and can you pay to race? And then you were racing.
Yeah.
So now you need to qualify.
It's exclusive now.
Yeah, it's pretty exclusive where it's gotten. So I think like for me, it was just like practicing as much as I could locally. I wasn't even winning anything locally before I went to my first like quote unquote national or out of state race.
Well, there was what, the first year of Beast Wheel around at that time or no?
Yeah.
Because what was the first Flow Life you went to?
The same year that I had 3 or 4. 3.
Four in Arkansas, yeah? Or 3?
No, 3.
In
In Arkansas was
Yeah.
the first time I
Okay,
ever
yeah.
went. And then I think the first race I ever went to was Fire Mountain.
Okay, right.
So that's for Fire Mountain's my first ever event, and then 2 months after that event, or a month after that event, I went to Oak City.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to like 4. Like I practiced a bunch, saved up money, and was able to go to like 4 events in like 1 year, or 3 events in that year.
Yeah.
And kind of got like a taste of what it was.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, and then I tried again. So I tried like 2 years in a row to be like competitive nationally. Maybe the first year I went to 2 events, and the next year I went to 3 or something. So, yeah, I don't know. It was cool. Like, it made sense that, like, you could do it. I still think you can. I think now it's just, like, you obviously have, like, big competitors, and I think it's just, like, a lot of it is a money game, not, like, in a mean way. I think it's just, like, it just is what it is because, like, we have a national system, right? Like, we're all trying to compete against each other nationally. But I think locally, if it was just a local thing, like competing locally isn't too terribly expensive.
No. I mean,
I think it's like within reason.
yeah.
Like, you know, you do have to travel a little bit, but like you could probably pull it off on one board.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you need to like plan a little bit.
Yeah.
But for probably $1,000, you could hit less than $1,000. You could probably figure out how to go and race all this stuff painstakingly. I think the harder part is time.
Oh, for sure.
Think. Especially if you think about like carpooling with people and like if you really, really wanted to race, I think you could do it locally with like less than $1,000.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be pretty committed. You probably can't trick on your board.
Yeah.
You probably need to just solely race it and have no repairs. Find some friends to take you to the track. I don't know how competitive you'll be, but if you're fast and you've been practicing at home, like you might only need. I mean, Frank Main, the second year of racing, like Frank Main was very competitive and only raced most of the tracks one visit.
Yeah.
So I think if you are, depending on where you want to be in racing, right? Like you might have to strategize differently, but I think racing is ultimately all strategy, right? So whether that's getting to the course early, whether that's riding more than the next person, whether it's building the fastest board, buying the fastest board.
So how would you say you really prepared for, you said your first race was Wheel Scorcher at Fire Mountain.
Yeah.
How would you say you're prepared?
Ride every day.
And did you, like, we didn't have so much knowledge as to, as far as like the layout of that. Like that was the first like enduro style racing.
Yeah.
What do you think of that compared to like mass starts and everything
Mass
else?
starts are definitely like my favorite. I've only done them twice. Once. I mean, I think they're all fun. I think the cool thing about Fire Mountain was just knowing that you're there. I feel like with anything, it's kind of how I take it. Maybe it's more of like a surf mentality, but like, regardless if you're going to win or not win, the thing I like about going to a race is that on that day, everyone is there trying to do their best at this one course. So regardless if you place last on it, you have the ability to come to this place, and by the end of the weekend, you are for sure better at that course, if that's what you came there to be good at, than you were when you got there.
Hell yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like to me that's what's cool. It's like we're coming there to like rock this course, and that course was handpicked by someone that supposedly knows something about one wheeling and what one wheeler's like. So to me it's
Right.
more about going and being able to ride like the flagship course
Yeah.
with all of the homies that you've been seeing riding than it is like, yeah, it'd be cool to win, but it's like, no, I just want to throw down like a dope ride on this course.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of it. And then of course at the end of it you get to look at the thing and see where you sized up, but like more than anything I think it's like that, because like I think for us, like we only have so many styles of courses around to ride. So
Yeah.
like to go somewhere else and be like, oh, bet, like you guys think this is the course that you want to invite people to ride on is, and that people like throw themselves down it, like that to me is like where it becomes really fun.
Yeah, I think for me it was like, yeah, like hanging out with Nan, hanging out with AJ, and just like all of us ripping down together was just so much. And then that downpour that we had, like there was a lot of like craziness that went on there, but it was just the memories that we made together was crazy.
Yeah, I feel as though, and I feel like that's where like I've gotten, I think definitely my head got in the clouds for like probably the 2 years that I tried to like go and travel. And I think last year brought me back to earth, knowing that like one, I couldn't even afford to go to the meets I wanted to go to, and I had too much other stuff to do. So then I had a freaking blast just racing locally,
Yeah.
just filming, learned a lot of new tricks, and like got even closer to my friends here locally. So then I just feel like now where I'm like, okay, now the industry has like skyrocketed into this like total NASCAR indie racing world where like you do actually need money to race, unless like the race is happening in your hometown. Like you're gonna need some bread to get there, and like you can't just show up on a stock board. Like those days are like completely, like I think almost 100% over. Depending on where you're racing. So like yeah, I think right now I'm very much embracing the home. Like I want to just like rock out as hard as I possibly can in the Worcester, New England area. If I happen to travel and there's a board that I can throw down on and do something cool, but like yeah, the times, you know, unless someone sees that Cole Crush could be awesome if he was on a super fast build and they want to support me racing in that way, then you know I'm just gonna keep it where I can afford, because like a lot of the top riders are in that space. I don't think there is a single
Absolutely. No.
at this point in the game. Maybe
Def-
they weren't there at the beginning, but like I think at this point in the game, like your day to day needs to be riding,
Yeah.
racing competitively. Like I don't know how you could keep up with the Jeff Adaires of the world that are riding every single day on all sorts of terrain with the best builds. Like how you're really gonna compete with them if you're just riding stock for fun. Like I think there is a separation between having fun and competing at this point.
Yeah. Big separation. So like as far as one of your questions was one wheel accessory, if you could make your own.
If I can make my own,
Yeah.
back in the day it used to be I wanted like a foldable piece of leather that you would put in your back pocket, and you would use that to drag your board when your board like runs out of battery or it breaks.
Wow.
So I kind of want it like the easiest thing, because everything else, like we were talking with the like, how do you trolley or dolly
Right.
dolly your board around, like that was a big thing when we started riding.
Yeah.
Like everyone was trying to figure out like, oh, if you flip this part backwards then the wheels can be in the back and then you can drag it. And I feel like to me I usually just drag my board depending on the surface. Like if I'm in a store or a building and it has like a slick surface, I just lightly drag my board on that because it slides so well. But then I always thought like, oh, if you're in some place with wooden floors, so I was like, if you just had like the nice perfect grade of leather that you could put and just kind of like slap onto the back or like the bottom part, and then it just kind of like sat there and then you could still drag. I don't know how that would attach, but that was kind of my thing. And like maybe it could like fit in your pocket.
Wild.
Other than that, there hasn't really been. I've always tried to think of like a cool, cheeky, simple accessory.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to think of any that are like that groundbreaking.
Yeah. I mean,
know
when
you.
I was talking about Sean Dura's, one of the first one wheel videos I saw of him was they're putting duct tape on the side of the rails. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
before rail guards.
Oh.
And I remember putting duct tape on mine, and then like
do
2
remember
weeks
that.
later, sidekicks or whatever comes out. It's like, those are like the simple things you wish you came out with. But I was thinking like more like complex in my
Yeah.
head. I was thinking like more useful for us, but probably not a realistic feature would be swappable, something that you're creating that you're able to build swappable batteries, swappable controllers.
I think that is an interesting one that I still don't understand why no one has ever made the swappable battery.
We saw it for boosted. I'm pretty sure you
Yeah.
were able to just slap on a different battery.
Yeah, you had to use a screwdriver, but it was still accessible.
Like
it was still faster than what we have.
what
to
you're
do.
doing now, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know why OneWheels. No one has ever. Like that was definitely one I agree that early on I was like, yeah, it would be so sweet if you could just like. All these engineers, like, why haven't they figured out, like, just detach the battery this way and pull it out, and then you could do your thing that way, but...
Especially with the amount of people that were making the batteries,
And making rails, like, it just really is like a rail feature. It's just like the screws for the rails need to go somewhere different, but I don't know. They'll probably have a million reasons why that's not a thing. Yeah, I don't think there's any other real accessory that I really like wanted. I mean, I would say it's not necessarily an accessory, but like I was a very big Plus rider. The Plus was maybe my third board. I bought it off a friend that I made who lived in Cambridge. He had a Plus he needed to get rid of, and I bought it for like $500 or $600.
Hell yes.
And that was my number one traveling board. I freaking loved it. It pains me that, to my understanding, well, maybe, didn't someone say, maybe Shy Battery makes a replacement Plus battery now? So that
I think originally they did.
I don't know if they still do.
I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, so I feel like that's kind of one of the things that's been like a gripe for me, but I also know that like Pluses are kind of like lightweight, obsolete, because like I don't know how you do with the controller. Or sorry, the BMS is obviously different on those, so like, and the controller is different, so it's like, there's that incompatibility, but I do feel like if people could even just come up with a smaller travel size battery for the XR, I think that's a market that's being slept on right now. I don't think everybody that buys a OneWheel needs super range when traveling. So I do think that that's like a missed market, because like when I travel, I'm like, the Plus was amazing, bro. Like you got 6 miles on it. It charged in 20 minutes. So after 6 miles, taking a break for 20 minutes isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So to me, I really missed the Plus with the fast charging.
Yeah.
The 20-minute charge was like kind of a thing of the past that I don't really see coming back, because people want bigger batteries.
Yeah.
But I think fast charging, a battery that can actually be completely charged in 20 to 30 minutes is huge for everybody, even if it can't go for a long time. So I would like that.
Hell yeah.
Still, I ask about it all the time. I write little notes to the companies, and I'm like, yo, he's sick. Because I like flying with my board, but it's shipping the battery and then having to build a battery. To build a battery is just a waste of time. Especially, too, because I would take it on like 2-day trips.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to do all that. Like, I would always fly with my board. Because putting it together is fine, but like doing the battery build too, that's like a whole nother hour.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know. What about you? What do you want?
I want the swappable batteries.
Oh yeah, swappable battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said listening to music. One of my favorite memories that I have with you is when we were at, I don't even know specifically, at Float Valley. And you have your headphones in, and you're singing Zeem Zeemer. And
yeah. By Joyner?
Jamming out the whole time. And I'm somebody who doesn't necessarily maybe occasionally. You're somebody who I feel like is always listening to music. Occasionally I like it, but when I'm out, it's just like I feel like I need to hear everything that is around me, and I feel like I get distracted by the music. But it was just so funny that you know.
I love it. Sometimes I get too pumped up. Like I've definitely left the house like on a high and nose dove the second I leave the house, because I'm like listening to my music and I'm just like too stoked and just like full throttle into the ground. I've definitely had that a few times trying to go to class, but Yeah, I think definitely when you're in like the woods or, definitely spaces where you're not totally having to navigate traffic.
For sure. For
I
sure.
definitely think like some good music just like puts you in the zone and just keeps me like I just have a blast. Especially if you're like rocking on a trail, you don't got to worry about anything running out and hitting you. So yeah, I definitely love listening to some music. Definitely switches on day to day what I listen to. Trying to think what else. Where do you think we'll be in the future? I guess is one good one. I'll check the time on this. We might have
Yeah.
to dump some footage and keep going.
I mean, it's crazy that like a year after we see the GT, we see the GTS. Can they really be coming out with a new board like every year or two, and they're like only making small adjustments to the boards? I have no idea. As far as the race world, I would like to see them separate like it more categorized by like be more open to the Vesk world, be more open to people on pints, more open to people on stock XRs. That would it'd be cool to see if they built something like that, even just in the local world. People if people were interested like that, if we were able to get more in-person racing locally, I would be so hyped to see. Not necessarily mass starts. Mass start would be awesome, but even like four people at a time, and you're running heats, I think would be sweet in some of the places where Old Jefferson, New Jefferson, all those places. I think it would be so sick to see the people who were really like race enthusiasts like us would
Yeah,
fare
man.
out and
Yeah,
win
I
that.
agree. I think for me, I definitely look forward to like a new XR form factor. Not that they need to resurrect the XR, and I know that XR does have a second life in Vesk, which
Right.
I haven't dabbled in yet.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'll get there. I found someone that said they might be down to build me a Vesk.
Hell yeah.
I have the parts. I just don't want to put it together.
Yeah. A lot of work.
So yeah, I guess like I would like to see, but also realistically, I would like to see a resurgence of the XR Model 2, just because like
We got Pine X.
we have Pine X, and then also just the fact that like XR, though built in a way that is modular and everyone can mess with, it also has its flaws from not having the newer style build or a new update. So right, it's still being built with like the rigid hard edges and everything else,
For sure.
which is fine. I'm just saying that like it would be cool to see a board that's more trick centric that also isn't totally Vesk. So I guess this is more of like a complaint to Future Motion in a way, because now they've been prioritizing racing, or you're on a pint and you're commuting.
Right.
It sort of seems like the two lanes.
They have no interest in putting out a trick board.
Yeah, or something that could be more in the trick space. So I
Yeah.
think to me, and it doesn't seem, as much as I've heard people when the GT came out and the GTS, everyone's like, oh, we're going to do all these tricks on the GT. I don't see it. I haven't yet seen it be used at the same capacity, right? Like, people do drops, they do some slides, but like the complexity of the trick still isn't the same for what people do on the XR model as they do on any other model. It seems like the inventory of tricks that are possible on a OneWheel are all done on XR.
Does appear.
Right? Like, there's only a couple of tricks you see people do even on GTs.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, to me, I think that's kind of where I'm at with that. Like, I would love, because it's just my favorite form factor, I would love to see that. And I'm excited. I would like to go to an event this year, or in the coming years, that's the slope style trick.
For sure.
I think that is a space that I was lucky enough to just be in the right place at the right time. First year at Oak City, they had a downhill slope course, and I loved it. I told a lot of people I loved it. Some people said they didn't like it. I loved it. And then I got a chance to be at Dirt Surfers with you, and they brought the same course back again randomly. And then it looks like last year that was like prevalent through a lot of the events, that there are these sort of downhill slope trick courses. So, and knowing that me and you ride a lot of that, even in our practice jam sessions, we like to set up on the side of a hill, or set up like continuous courses that go kind of linearly in a direction where you're doing stuff one after another. That really gives me that like snowboardy vibe, that like I think is really cool. So it'd be cool to get to like Northern Cali to go to an event like that, or yeah, probably North Cal. I think they have a really sick course right now they've been working on. So
Oh yeah, that's where it's at.
yeah, we might be able to squeeze one more.
Yeah.
Ride or film? Why?
That's a tough one. Me personally, ride. Just because when I'm filming, I feel like I'm thinking too much about like how I'm gonna edit it. Whereas if I'm just riding, I'm not really focused on anything else. With just riding and enjoying myself. I do enjoy filming it, but it's just I think it's more stress-free for me if I'm just riding.
Yeah.
How about for you?
I love filming because I love filming.
Definitely.
Because that's my like second life.
Definitely.
But I love just riding. I think a lot of times, especially early on, I think I wasted, not even wasted, but like I spent a lot of time like trying to be out with my 360, filming myself. And like, I think once I like got away from like, oh, you need to film every ride to like, you just need to go ride every ride.
Yeah.
It's way better. But then there are moments too when I like go out and then like, you're feeling it and you're like, oh man, I want to like film a little thing. So I think I've gotten more happy with just like, even with posting, I guess is part of the conversation. Like I've gotten more comfortable with like I'll send you a clip of a trick I did and I'll send Nan and Corey and like Max, but like it's kind of very personal. Yeah. Like I don't really feel like it's like, oh yeah, I'm here doing this thing. I think it's kind of cool. I'm gonna document it because I want to like look and see how I'm getting better, but like I don't necessarily feel like it's like the thing I'm gonna post. Like I'll wait until it's a filming day and we're filming, but like in the in-betweens I usually just try to catch it on my cell phone or just try to be okay with it just living in my thoughts.
Yeah.
Of whatever happened. But like, yeah, it would be cool if at some point we met a filmmaker that just wanted to film us.
For sure.
But
I don't know if we'll see that day.
Maybe that'll come in the future.
Yeah.
All right, this got 3%.